Boom. Doesn't get much better than this, ladies and gentlemen. Arguably one of my favorite fights ever. Unquestionably my favorite room ever. We're talking about Elegon 25-man normal. Healing guide. Hopefully you've seen the other bosses by now. You understand the goal. But I can't wait to get into this one. This is definitely a special fight. Let's put it that way. It's a special fight. Okay? Don't worry about why. Just, it's a special one. So let's talk about what we got to do to properly tackle this big old dragon. So, this is after the boss is dead, obviously. Not really many options in terms of recording. Either the boss is going to be here, there's not going to be a floor, or he's going to be dead. There's the only three options. So, just ignore the giant discs. They're just cosmetic. Essentially, what you got here is a very, very gimmick-driven fight, but one that puts your healing skills to the test. Let's put it that way, okay? It really does. And it's going to throughout the entire fight. It's a 10-minute fight. I'm pretty damn sure every guild's going to be right at 10 minutes, at least right now. Okay? Big complications to come. First thing we're going to talk about is the first phase. Understand this. Red, the red mark there, that's the boss, okay? Dead center of the room. Boss does not move, will never move, will always be there. Blue is essentially where the tank's going to be. Might not be exactly there, but one way or the other, you'll want him facing away from the raid and the direction of green, which is going to be the stack for your ad. Okay, what's going to happen is, I'm assuming everyone already understands all the mechanics. There's quite a few things happening here, but first things first, ad's going to come out. This is the first time you really have to worry. Essentially, you're going to realize that you'll have to balance these stacks. As a healer, you don't ever need to be in here. Okay, it only increases damage done, and healing taken does not increase healing done. So as long as the people you're healing are inside there, you never have to risk yourself being extra damaged. But you might as well stay in anyway in case you do need some heals, right? There's some ways to deal with it, but you could easily balance this by just running out here and then running back in, resets the stacks. That's the first thing. Second thing you need to worry about when the ad's out, obviously, you're going to have to heal this group. Everybody's going to be in this area-ish. Good place for Light's Hammer, any type of AoE. But regardless, tank's going to be quite far away. So what I would recommend, if you're looking from a guild perspective, you need one badass single target healer. Discipline Priest is what I would recommend. Holy Paladin, second option. Everyone else under that is dismal. So try to go Discipline Priest, then Holy Pally. Otherwise, you're in trouble. Keep them on the tank full time. In this first phase, full-time tank heals, okay? Tank is going to get hit hard, especially as the longer the ad stays alive, the less time, or the longer time he's going to have the stacks. Stacks are going to get higher, he's going to get hit harder. You know, it goes back and forth in that direction. But definitely need a single target healer. I'd recommend having them stand over closer to blue, perhaps halfway between green and blue off the edge. In terms of the actual healing, as everyone else's role concerned, first phase, ad comes out, ad dies off the platform, bursts of damage, AoE mode. The trick, listen up, is not overspending, okay? Everybody's going to get dominated. They're going to get hit for about 80% of their health, sometimes closer to, like, they'll be single digits sometimes if they're not doing it right. So you have to worry about healing them, obviously, but you also have to worry about saving. This is a 10-minute fight. First things first, realize that as long as they're all in here, you don't need to spam your heals to heal them up. As long as you have 4 or 5 healers casting an AoE and perhaps some reduction, you'll be fine. I would recommend cycling some reduction, especially if you're having trouble healing through this and want to save some mana. Or Mastery is good as it's a short cooldown. I would definitely not recommend using totems or trank. You definitely do not need that. But it's good to stay ahead. I think we'll all agree with that. But there is better damage, better uses for these types of things with damage to come. Other thing you're going to have to worry about in this phase is going to be dispels. There's going to be 6 people to dispel. I'm fairly certain that's what it's supposed to be, although it seems to vary for some reason. Should be 6, no more than 6. That means all 6 healers, if you're doing this with 6, need to dispel. Okay, so if you see a debuff goes out, you have to do it. There's an 8-second window. The debuff is going to stop people from getting much healing. You don't want that to happen. Trust me. It does some damage, but they need a heal. All right, so that's your job, to get the debuff off them and then get them healed up. Keep that in mind. So individual requirement at this point, spend but save at the same time. Don't overspend. That's a very, very tempting thing to do, overspending in this phase. Gotta save, gotta save, gotta save, but gotta dispel as well. And if you have heals for the tank, throw them up. Keep some hots on the tank, life blooms rolling. Perhaps renewing mist if you got it. You know, any type of hot, shield, anything you have, just keep them up, because the healer healing that tank is going to be doing work. And everybody else it's pretty manageable as long as you have everyone stacked up. Nice close AoE. So you've made it out of phase 1, hopefully with a large portion of your mana intact. There's going to be some downtime between this. He's going to do an ability called Draw Power. Ignore it. Your shaman, go ahead and cast some lightning bolts. Do what you can to regen mana. But there's not a lot of options for a lot of classes, really. Just kind of chill out and let the spirit take over and wait for the stuff to happen. I put down 3 markers. Red is still the boss. Okay, the 3 on the outside are supposed to emulate the pillars. If you've done the fight, hopefully you already understand the mechanic. What's going to happen is the balls are going to come out. They're going to explode. You're going to kill a bunch of them, and then the phase is going to end. It's a very strange phase in healing terms, but quite easy to deal with if done properly. Once again, realize that people are going to have to balance their stacks. I would recommend, as a healer, just stay the fuck out of there. There's no reason to even be in there. Like, you yourself won't take much damage, but you won't need a lot of healing either. I don't know. Just my personal opinion is just stay out of this on the platform the whole time. Just stay out on the edge. You can go in if you want to try to heal yourself up a bit more. Maybe do a bit of damage if you're one of those classes, but for me, as a Holy Pally, I just stay out. I could use DP if I have to reduce damage. Won't even need much healing. But the melee, the DPS who can't get out easy they're gonna take some hits, and they're gonna have to refresh their stacks as well. So just keep that in mind. What's gonna happen is a ball's gonna come out, gonna hit, explode, do damage, heal up. Very, very simple. But once again, it's very easy to overspend. You're gonna think you got an AOE heal, but there's not a lot of options to AoE heal. People aren't going to be close enough to you to actually AoE heal. So you got to use your best, efficient, throughput, single target heal likely, unless you can get something like a Light of Dawn off on a few people. Good option. Spread some hots as a druid. Perhaps renewing mist if you have the glyph. Chain heal likely is only going to be able to hit 2 or 3 people depending on what you have at each pillar. But just don't overspend. I'm begging you here. This is really important. I'll explain why in a second. But it's just rinse and repeat from there. I would recommend using a cooldown, especially towards the end. It feels like it gets harder, but it shouldn't. It's the same. Everything's the same damage-wise. It just gets a bit more hectic because it's happening quicker, right? So save an Aura Mastery, especially if you got Rep Paladins. Encourage them to use it. Other than that, though, just, as I said, spend, but don't overspend. Okay, so what essentially would be considered the second transition, third phase, I don't know what you guys want to call it, but it doesn't really make a difference. This is the phase where the walls come up. So the previous conductors are going to turn into like a bit of a pillar type conduit, and it's going to make a wall. I've tried to emulate that with these color markers, but it's going to be quite obvious. You'll know. This is my personal spot. If I wasn't clear in the previous one, it's symmetrical around the room. It doesn't matter where you are. You have the exact same role. It's just based on who you are, like around, and who you can heal actually. So just don't worry about that. In terms of this phase, there's a few seconds before anything actually happens. So if I was a paladin, I would be meleeing the pillar, try to get some mana back. If I was a shaman, I'd be lightning bolting the pillar. Priest use whatever you got. Just try to get some mana back now. What's going to happen is it's going to do damage throughout this phase. I'd recommend splitting up. You have 6 healers, 1 at each pillar. And it's just general, heal when needed. There's nothing special about this phase. I would say this part of the phase is a conserve phase. And then ultimately it gets a bit harder as you transition back to the main phase. But it's just, there's going to be a circle on the ground. If you see people get hit by it, try to do some preventative. If they do get hit by it, they're idiots. Plain and simple. I've had warriors charge into the pillar and then get like on the other side where the fire is and die. Can't do anything about that, But that's pretty much it. Just easy phase, move on. What's going to happen is once your pillar's dead, I would recommend splitting up as a raid to, have all 6 pillars die around the same time if possible. However you want to do it, doesn't matter to me. You're going to move past it once it's down. Don't move through it. I would recommend stacking back up around where the original marker for green was in the first phase. All the ads are going to come to you. They can be fully rooted. So if you're Paladin, you could blind them. You could stun them. You could do all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? You could bot people if they got threat on them. Holy Priest could fear them. Anything like that. Few options. Druids can root. Shamans, Earthbind. Stuff like that. But one way or the other, it's going to get hectic. Let's put it that way. There's not really any true AoE taunt in the game anymore. Monks and warriors have a decent one, but they're going to be running around and they're going to be hitting people. So this is your job. Okay, I would recommend doing everything you can to keep people alive through this phase. This is an easy phase to die in, and it's not really anyone's fault. It's just bad luck. Perhaps the DPS got a bit overzealous, but there's nothing you can do to stop it. That's what I'm trying to say. So I would recommend doing everything you can to keep people's health at 100%. I'm throwing down Hammer. I'm not using Aura Mastery. That's not going to do anything, but definitely just put your best heals on people that look like they're going to need it, because they will need it. Your best melee DPS is probably going to pull AoE threat. You got a badass Warlock, he's probably going to pull some threat, and they can die. Like if they get hit by 1 or 2 ads, they're going to die. Even the tanks will get hit pretty hard. So you just gotta keep it cool, keep the heals coming. I would recommend a Spirit Link Totem at this point if your damage is outweighing the healing. You'll probably enter this, if you do end up stacking, you'll probably enter this with about 75% health for everyone. If anyone got hit by an ad, they'll be lower. Just like I said, very imperative to keep everyone alive. But as soon as the transition, this part, like the third phase that we're talking about now, ends, you'll be able to move back onto the pillars, or back onto the platform, and all the damage and healing will go back up, and you just AoE them down and heal everybody up quick. But like I said, when you're waiting for this to come up, it could feel like an eternity, and it really is painful when you see a melee DPS getting hit by those ads. It's like you can't hit the spell quick enough. But that's it. Now we're back in the main phase. Let's talk about where it goes from there. If you've managed to make it to this second main phase with 60-ish% mana, you've done quite well. I did not have that luxury. This is probably the time when you'll want to start really watching what you cast, what spells you cast. You can catch a potion here before the ad comes out if you want. I'd probably recommend waiting until the next transition into the ball phase. Catch a potion just to see where you're at. But if you've gotten here with at least 50% mana, you're in good shape. Otherwise, you're going to be struggling because it's only going to get harder. This phase, the second main phase, is going to be the exact same as the first main phase, only it's likely going to take much longer. You have to do 30% damage instead of 20% damage. So, however long it took you, add another 10%. It's going to put your mana pool at the test, and it's only going to get harder from here on out. So just same deal, really. Watch, you got to dispel. As soon as it happens, you need to dispel. Okay, you need to, because if one of your healers aren't on point and one of those people needs serious healing, it's going to be devastating to the raid. It's going to be really disastrous. And I don't want people to have to dispel twice. That's not a good thing. Okay. Ad keeps coming out. Probably get 3 or 4 ads. 3 or 4 explosions. So 3 or 4, Holy Radiances with a Light of Dawn. Throw down a hammer. Chain heal. Healing Rain. Wild Growth, anything like that. Just got to remember the mana pool. That bar cannot dip. If you're walking into that final main phase with like less than 30%, less than 20%, you're in trouble. You're not going to handle it. And I've been there. On our kill. I misspent very, very poorly in this phase. Not in this one, but in the next transition, and it was remarkably noticeable. So as I said, tensions are mounting. It's just a rinse and repeat from the first 3 things we talked about, first 3 phases. Hopefully you can continue up. Just keep everyone alive. You're going to rush back in this phase. Kill some orbs, throw out some damage if you can, regen some mana. Walls are going to come out. You're going to do that again. I'm not going to bother with the markers. Hopefully you understand. You do that again. Save some mana. Get back over here. Go crazy AoE heal mode. Keep everyone alive. Don't let anyone die. And then it's important to realize that You need to make sure you're right on the cusp of this, because as soon as he transitions, as soon as the main phase starts, everything on this corner here, like that's not the celestial platform, it's death. It is death, and you'll lose a person or two because people won't be paying attention to it. We lost 2 people because of it. I mean, it's not a good thing. So you move back in, kill the ads, and get ready. This is where the shit hits the fucking fan. So you're in the final phase now. Hopefully you've got like at least 10 stacks on the boss. Your DPS is just going to get so much damage out. It's going to be silly. So you probably won't have more than a minute or so in this phase. Just realize it's going to be probably the most intense minute of your life. Every ounce of mana you have saved up until this point gets spent. If you finish this fight with mana, you have done it wrong. Okay, you have absolutely done a disservice to yourself and every other healer, because they will be busting their ass. They will be casting the best spells they have to keep everyone alive. And I will tell you this right now. You cannot get out of here. You cannot reset your stacks. Healing might be easy to heal up, but it's going to be a lot of healing, and it's going to happen a lot. And you are going to need to use your best spells. Everything you have in your repertoire, anything you've saved, has to be used. Totems, Trank, Aura Mastery, single target CDs, hammer, everything needs to be down. Everything. It's going to get worse as the phase goes, so maybe save something that you want to just have in reserve, like Lay on Hands, or perhaps a 5-minute CD if you really want to be ballsy and save it for the end. But the tank is going to get fucking pulverized. The raid is going to get crushed. Your weaker DPS, less gear, they're going to have less health. They're going to get dominated. And this is going to be a freaking mayhem, just a slugfest. Can your DPS do 300k burst execute bullshit in this phase to get you out of it? And if you do, you will succeed. Congratulations. One of my favorite fights ever. Just to recap, the first few phases cycle, save, 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 until you're here, until you're at the final phase, spend, spend, spend. I guarantee you, if you've managed to save in the first few phases, the way I look at it is the damage is taken. It can be healed up quite quickly. I use 1 Holy Radiance and a Light of Dawn, and use the splash from Holy Shock, and that's enough. Don't cast another Holy Radiance. You gotta spend. You gotta be frugal with your mana, because to have enough mana in this phase to cast freely is like the angels have come down from the heavens. You know what I mean? To grant you the power to do this. If you don't, I was here just the other night and I'm smashing my freaking keys. Like, I don't have mana. I'm just standing here smashing my keys. Had to go melee the boss because I couldn't do anything. It's a sad feeling. And it's a very intense fight. If you don't make the enrage, just bubble. There's a few options, I guess. You will survive it, apparently, and you could continue doing damage after he's done his initial enrage. But that's it. It's a pretty cool fight. I love this room. Probably the coolest room I've ever fought a boss in. So, hope you guys enjoyed. As always, going to try to do this for every boss, especially getting to Heroics. Hard Fear coming out soon. So, stay tuned for those. And that's it. See you guys later.